All right, so for this lesson, we're going to start out by simplifying radicals. So the way you do that is looking for, this is a square root, there's an imaginary 2 there. So 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25, 6 squared is 36. So I'm going to stop, this is about halfway. If I take my calculator and I go 68 divided by 36, it's not going to give me a whole number. It's going to give me like 1.88888. So I tries 25. That's not going to work. The number that's the biggest number that is in this list is 4. So I can break 68 into the square root of 4 times the square root of 17. Square root of 4 is 2. And then the radical 17 can't be broken down further, so it's 2 radical 17. How you do this on the calculator is you go here, you put the 68 divided by, this is x. Again, remember the root is 2. There's an imaginary 2 here. So I'm going to raise this to the second power. Okay. And then I'm going to hit second. I'm going to go to graph. What you're going to do is you're going to go to your first 0 point something number. So let's scroll up. That's not our first one. Boom, right here. So this is our first 0 point, like you see, it's 0.83951. Then I'm going to scroll, once I find that 0 point number, I'm going to scroll up until I get to my first whole number. So there, oh, right there, boom, right here. So 2 radical 17, which is what I got by doing it by hand. I'm going to show you another example of that. So what if I had the square root of 468? I'm going to insert a 4 here. I'm going to do the same thing. So go to my table again. Hey. I'm going to scroll down till I get to my first 0 point something number. Okay, that's 2 point something. Keep going. 1 point something. Almost there. Almost there. There we go. Okay, now remember, I need to find that number first, and then I'm going to scroll up until I get to my first number that is a whole number under y1. So keep going up. Oh, right there. So 6 radical 13. So 6 radical 13 is going to be my answer. Okay, why am I teaching you this? So when we solve equations, first thing we want to do is get everything to one side. So I'm going to add 3q squared here. So plus 3q squared. So this is going to give me a 0, which is what I want. So I'm going to get 6q squared minus 5q minus 6. If you try to do AC method here, it would not work. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and use our quadratic formula. So our quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So what do I mean by that? Here's our a. Our a is equal to 6. Our b is equal to negative 5. It's the number in front of our variable. And our c is equal to negative 6. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take those numbers and I'm going to plug it in. So negative b says whatever b is, do the opposite. So the opposite of negative 5 is positive 5. So I'm going to do 5 plus or minus the square root of. We're going to take this negative 5 here, put it in parentheses, negative 5 squared minus 4 times a, which is 6, times c, which is negative 6. Okay, and then on the denominator, I'm going to always do 2 times whatever our a is. Our a is 6. And then you're going to solve this. So you're going to take whatever's under the radical, just under the radical right here, and you're going to put that into the calculator, and you're going to get the square root of, so I'm going to get 5 plus or minus the square root of, you're going to leave that square root symbol. Again, just take what's under the radical, all of this, plug it into the calculator, hit enter, and then your answer for that is going to give you a 169. And then we have it still divided by 2 times 6, which is equal to 12, right? So we're on a roll. Okay, now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to simplify the radical if you can. So the square root of 169, if you were to take that into the calculator, plug it in, you're going to get straight up 13. So final answer, 5 plus or minus 13 all over 12. And so we're going to simplify this as much as possible. 5 plus 13 is 18. 18 over 12. You can take that, plug it into the calculator. So we have 18 over 12. So alpha y equals, hit enter, 18 over 12, hit enter, and it reduces to 3 over 2. Boom, so one answer is going to equal 3 over 2. And then the second answer is going to be 5 minus 13, which is negative 8 over 12. And if you plug that into the calculator, you're going to get that that answer is the same thing as negative 2/3. So your two answers are 3/2 and negative 2/3. Okay. Next one, we're going to do something very similar. So it says solve. So we're going to add our 6t squared plus 6t squared. So this is going to cancel out and give us 0, which is what we want. That's what we always want to start doing. 3t squared minus 15t plus 17. And again, if you were to take this, try to do AC method, it would not work. So we're going to use our handy dandy quadratic formula. Square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. A equals 3. B equals negative 15. C is equal to 17. So you're going to take this and you are going to go ahead and solve it as regular, right? So this is going to be opposite of negative 15 is going to be 15 plus or minus the square root of b squared. No, let me just go ahead and simplify that. So this is going to be negative 15 plus or minus the square root of parentheses. This is where I meant to put the negative 15 squared minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is 17, all over 2 times a, which is 3. We're going to plug all of that into the calculator. So let's go ahead and do that. This is what I mean when I say we're going to plug it into the calculator. Parentheses, again, without the radical sign. Parentheses, negative 15. We're going to square that. Minus 4 times 3 times 17. You're going to hit enter and you're going to get 21. Okay. So second answer is going to be 15 plus or minus the square root of 21 over 2 times 3 is 6. And it says put it in simplest form. So this is going to be 15 over 6 plus radical 21 over 6. Radical 21 cannot be simplified. So this is going to be one answer, and the second answer is going to be 15 over 6 minus radical 21 over 6. So you have two answers. This is one, and this is the other. Okay. If you have any questions, ask. All right. So now this one right here, this question, is very similar. So we're going to go ahead and add 5z so we can get that to be 0. Add 5z. So this is going to cancel out. So we're going to get z squared minus 2z minus 12 is equal to 0. Again, you're going to go ahead and it says simplest form. So let me see. Yep, simplest form. So you could just go ahead and plug this into a calculator. So this is a equals 1, b equals negative 2. People are texting me. C is equal to negative 12. Be quiet. So we're going to start out by doing the same thing. So our formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Again, we have our variables right here and what they equal. So negative b, opposite of b is negative 2. If it was positive 2, the opposite of positive 2 is negative 2. But anyway, since consistently we've had negatives there, so 2 plus or minus the square root. B squared minus 4ac. When you plug all of that into the calculator, you're going to get negative 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times c is negative 12. We'll plug it into the calculator in a second. 2 times 1 is 2 is equal to. So we have 2 plus or minus. You're going to get the square root of 52 all over 2. So you're going to plug two things into the calculator. 2 plus the square root of 52 all over 2, and 2 minus the square root of 52 all over 2. When you plug this into the calculator, it says in simplest form. Okay, so we're not plugging it into the calculator. So we have the square root of 52. We're going to go ahead and simplify that. So that's going to be 2 plus square root of 52. If you do that trick that I showed you, you're going to get 2 radical 13 over 2. You should know that something happens here, okay? So 2 over 2 is just 1 plus, and again, 2 over 2 cancels out. So that's just the radical 13. So that's one answer. And then the other same thing over here. 2 divided by 2 is 1 minus radical 52 is the same thing as 2 radical 13 over 2, which is also 1 minus radical 13. So those are your two answers. So it's going to be 1 plus radical 13 and 1 minus radical 13. Done. You could also write it like 1 plus or minus radical 13. Delta Math has that button. This is the one where you're going to plug things into a calculator. So real quick, our A is 1, our B is 17, our C is 5. Set it up, the same thing, opposite of B. This is positive 17, the opposite of that is negative 17, plus or minus the square root of B squared, which is 17 squared, minus 4 times A, which is 1, times C, which is 5, all over 2 times 1, which is 2. So when you plug this into the calculator, the two answers that you're going to get when you simplify are going to be negative 0.3, and the second one is going to be negative 16.7. Okay, so again, you have two things, plus or minus, and here are your two answers. All right, next one over here, this says in simplest A plus BI form. So our A is equal to 1, B equals negative 18, C is equal to 82. I don't know why they use big numbers, but oh well. So opposite of B is 18 plus or minus the square root of negative 18 squared minus 4 times 1 times C, which is 82, all over 2 times 1, which is just 2. So when you take this, plug all of this into the calculator, you're going to get equals 18 plus or minus the square root of negative 4 all over 2. So you could simplify this to be 18 plus or minus 2i all over 2. 18 divided by 2 is equal to 9, plus or minus 2i divided by 2 is equal to just I. So there's your answer right there. And then last but not least, this problem right here. I wanted to give you a couple of different scenarios. So we have A is equal to 16, B is equal to negative 32, C is equal to 17. So opposite of B is 32 plus or minus the square root of negative 32 squared minus 4 times 16 times 17 all over 2 times 16. So when we simplify this, we're going to get 32 plus or minus, take all of that stuff, plug it into the calculator, and you're going to get the square root of negative 64 all over 2 times 16 is 32. Square root of negative 64 is 8i, so that's going to simplify right here. So 32 plus or minus 8i all over 32, and you want to simplify it as much as possible. 32 divided by 32 is equal to 1, plus or minus 8 over 32 can reduce to 1/4, so it's going to be I over 4, or 1i over 4. So you could simplify this to be 1 plus or minus, since they want this right with the a b, and an I. So this is 1 over 4i. So your a is 1, your b is 1/4 or negative 1/4, and then the I is there. Final answer. Okay. Good luck. I hope and trust that you all are okay, and that you continue practicing. All right, last one. So here we have 9x squared plus 24x. You want to bring this 19 over, so add 19 to both sides, so plus 19 is equal to 0 again, which is what we want. So here our a is equal to 9, our b is equal to, I forgot the x, our b is equal to 24, and our c is equal to 19. So we're going to plug that into our formula. So opposite of b is negative 24 plus or minus square root of b squared is 24 squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times 9. So we want to simplify this as much as possible. So we have negative 24 plus or minus the square root of negative 108 all over 2 times 9 is 18. So square root of, and we're just going to do this by hand. So square root of 108. So 108 simplifies to be 6 goes into 108. 36. Okay, let's just go ahead and check that. So turn the calculator on whenever it feels like going on. So let's do 108 divided by 6 times 6 is 36, 7 times 7 is 49. So let's try 36, see if that works. Perfect, right? We have a whole number. So I can simplify 108 to be square root of 36 times 3. Square root of 3, square root of 36 is 6, so this is going to be 6 radical 3. So final answer here, negative 24 plus or minus. This is going to be 6 radical 3, but don't forget the I because this is negative, so it's going to be 6i radical 3 over 18. And then now all we have to do is simplify. Negative 24 over 18, if you plug that into the calculator, you hit enter, you're going to get negative 4 thirds, and then we have a plus or minus sign. 6 over 18 is the same thing as 1/3, so this is going to be I radical 3 over 3. So final answer, negative 4 over 3 plus or minus radical 3 over 3, and we want to put the I at the end because it says simplest a plus bi form. So this is our answer. All right, good luck. Sorry about the longer video.